Hey. Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I think we went live here just a few seconds ago. Appreciate you turning out for the second of the town hall meetings on the Willow Park Home Rule Charter. We have a little bit to cover tonight on the agenda, but we're going to start with prayer and a pledge. And Councilmember Scott, if you would lead us in prayer, please.
Certainly, Larry. Heavenly Father, we come to you today and just thank you for this day. We thank you for this great city, this board, our council, our mayor, all of our citizens that are upon us today. Lord, we just ask for your blessings. We ask for your direction, and we ask for a great night. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And thank you. If you would give that mic to Chief Lacey.
I can do it without.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Like
Everyone, please, join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation of America, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay. We do have a fairly full agenda tonight. I'll go back to that. We're just going to touch briefly. Most of you, I think, are familiar with the difference between a home rule and a general law city. We're going to talk about the schedule to get this done. And we're going to go through what some of the major potential differences between what we have and what the charter would bring us. And then we will open up the whole thing for discussion and take questions on anything you all want to address about the charter. So these are the basic differences between general law and home rule city on the screen. The one thing that's not on there specifically is the biggest difference is the charter documents what the rights of the citizens are. General law city under state law just tells what the requirements, limitations, and capabilities of the government body of a city is. Doesn't address citizen rights at all. So that's why it's called a home rule charter. It gives the citizens rights on controlling that government. That is the single biggest difference. Any questions on that? Okay, well, I think I just said that. State law creates rights, home rule charter continues those authorities, but also gives rights to the citizens. We can force action on specific issues, that is, bring an initiative to the city council. We can ask for a referendum, which says the city council did something, and enough of the citizens say, why'd you do that? And ask for a redo. Or occasionally we might elect somebody and didn't understand that what they were telling us they were running for wasn't why they were there, and we might want to recall them. Okay. What are the major differences that we've already incorporated into the draft charter? We are proposing to increase the council from 5 to 6. Okay. As we get larger and larger in the population, we need a little bit better representation. And that's kind of the thinking on that. Okay. Now let's talk about the schedule for a minute.
That and now the mayor has a vote afterwards.
We will get to that, yes. Okay, we're at a town hall meeting tonight. We have one more Home Rule Charter Commission meeting on the 19th, where we will incorporate any comments that we get from this meeting. There's a couple of things in the transition provisions that may need to be tweaked, and we need to do a complete internal consistency review to make sure that when we made a change in one article, it didn't require something be changed in another part of the charter. Depending, we have potentially a schedule for another meeting on December 3rd. May or may not need that, no, because we are targeting to present the completed charter to the city council on December 9th, assuming that you all don't change your schedule. But we'll keep up with that. And that's a target, that's a goal. The other thing that we're going to want to have done, the city attorney has already told us that they want to have several members of their staff review the charter for just legal consistency. I have asked the city attorney who has been coming to our meetings if they cannot initiate that review immediately after the November 19th meeting so that we can get some feedback and we don't end up, after we present the charter to the council, finding that the attorneys have identified some new problem. So, given all of that and the way this has to mesh together, I am still somewhat confident that we will be able to meet the goal of submitting this charter to the city council on December 9th. Okay? We have been meeting every 2 weeks, so we would have then a potential schedule for another meeting on December 17th in case there's something that needs, again, some attention that I don't know what it would be at this point. After that, the next specific date would be May 2 next year, because that's when the charter would be on the ballot for adoption. It is very possible that we might want to schedule additional town hall meetings sometime in the spring of 2026, just to make sure that citizens don't have some further input. Okay, any questions on that? Yes, sir.
Any city council members here?
I'm sorry, what?
Are there any city council members here?
There is one. Right. We have one city council member, one of the co-city managers, and the director of communications. Okay. Okay. So significant changes: increase council members from 5 to 6, increase the length of the terms from 2 years to 3 years. The mayor would get a vote for all actions, not just breaking ties. We would be incorporating accountability into the process, and we are including a feature to create an independent board of ethics. Why 6 council members? Again, we want to promote additional diversity of experience and background as the city grows in population. We just felt that that was a better thing. If we actually get to maybe 20,000 in the future, I guess an important point is once you adopt the charter, it's not frozen like an iceberg. It can be amended in the future. I think there is one limitation on that. It can only be amended at most every 2 years. Okay. So why 3 years? I was on the council for 7 terms. They were not continuous, So I have a different view of term limits, but that's something else. And I've watched a lot of people get on the council, and it takes about a year just to really understand what the role of the council member is. And I've always thought that a 2-year term doesn't really give you the time to learn what the job is and then become effective and implement it. So I'm really good with a 3-year term, particularly since the charter would also include the referendum and recall provisions. So, okay. The mayor gets a vote. The mayor should be an equal member of the city council. The mayor manages city council meetings, but is neither superior nor inferior to the other council members. And just generally speaking, the mayor is the spokesperson for the city, the face of the city, if you will. And at this point, I'm going to say that what we're trying to do with this charter is to define a city government that will run. It's got 3 parts. It's got a city manager who does the day-to-day management of the city operations. The council sets the strategic planning within which the city manager operates. And the mayor tries to hold the whole thing together. Okay. But under emergency conditions, the mayor has not just authority, but responsibilities that are incredibly important. Okay. And we are blessed that we have not actually had to invoke emergency measures in this city, not since I've been living here, and it's almost 4 decades. Okay. But we have the emergency powers defined because emergencies happen. And if and when that happens, the mayoral duties are what require the respect and support of both the council, the city staff, and the citizens. Okay. Accountability in the process. Again, the city manager is the primary CEO of the city, if you will, running the day-to-day operations. But the public should be aware of what the council's expectations for the city manager's job. And so we are wanting to incorporate in the charter level a requirement that evaluation criteria for the city manager be published to the public. Okay. And this is intended as a macro management feature, not a micromanagement feature. We're also going to require the council to create a city policy on ethical behavior. There's plenty of material that can be referenced, incorporated to do that. That shouldn't be a difficult task. But then separately, there will be an independent board of ethics that will have the power to enforce compliance with the policy on ethics. Okay. Now, we're simply in the charter requiring that those things be created. They will be created by the council through ordinances, so the council will get to define those things. Okay. That's all I got. Anybody have any questions? Sure. Here, I'm going to sit down.
Hello, my name is Carol Wagner. And first of all, I want to thank the committee for your time and efforts in preparing this homeroom chart. I've heard, I've read, and I understand the advantages of the home rule charter, especially with regards to greater citizen participation. I want to make 3 points. The first one is, this is a significant change in our form of government. We have a representative form of government. We elect council members individually as well as the mayor. We, the voters, vest them with the power and responsibility to act on our behalf. I believe this form of government has served us well at the local city level to date and for the size of our city. People have busy lives. City issues can be complicated and they require time and effort to become informed and involved. Relatively few people are involved. Low voter turnout for local elections is common. We depend on our city council to act for us. As I read this home rules charter, I see a danger in a small group of citizens bypassing or overriding the city council. The city of Willow Park has a small, vocal, and organized group of citizens, which is fine. I'm concerned, though, that a small group of people may have outsized influence in our city government. My point is that we need the city government to represent all citizens, not only a small, vocal group of citizens. My second point is about cost. At the first town hall meeting, the presentation mentioned that the only cost to implementing this home rule charter was making copies to mail to all the registered voters prior to it being voted on in May of 2026. I believe there will be significant ongoing administrative costs to the city once the charter is implemented. As one example that I can give, paragraph 4.08 municipal court. The charter states, quote, "There is hereby created the municipal court of record in the city of Willow Park." This is new. Becoming a court of record will incur more cost. I'm sure there are other costs. I would ask the committee and or city officials to develop an estimate of the cost for the home rule charter before the election. I hope the cost of implementing home rule charter will not delay desperate road replacement, rehabilitation, and maintenance. My third point is about the Board of Ethics. I have concerns about the board and numerous powers given to the Board of Ethics. I also have concerns that, as a lot of things, it can be abused. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, Carol, you mentioned the municipal court. We already have a municipal court.
But is it a record?
Of course, it's a court of record. Not a court of record?
No, sir.
Okay,
So that's gonna incur additional costs because there's a lot more to a court of record.
okay.
That's the kind of thing I mean. This is what we need to know. What is gonna go up in cost once we implement this home rule?
Okay, so the current, whether it's a court of record or not, when our court assesses a penalty against somebody, generally for tickets or whatever our police provide, a portion of that penalty gets paid to the state already. Okay. So I would look forward to finding out if there is a
Well,
delta.
talk about running the court, establishing the staff needed. That's what I'm talking about. Everyday cost of running that court of record. That's gonna cost the city money.
Well, as the city grows, the size of the court may need to grow also. At this point in time, I'm not sure that the scale of court would be significantly greater than what we have currently. But I'd love to find out the right answer. Thank you. That's good. Anybody else have a question? Comment?
You know, like this one.
Sure.
So my question is, and really it's more probably to help educate the people, Gene, on your end. So back on page 2 or 3, you talked about citizen oversight, or the citizens have the ability to change things. Can you dive into what that process looks like, what the voting process looks like, how many citizens it takes, when does it take place, all of that stuff. That way, I think it kind of helps kind of clear the air as far as how long that process takes, who's all involved, and how it reverses itself.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, that's in Article 6, on initiative, referendum, and recall. And, yes, I suppose you could call it a small segment of the population would be required to potentially run that. It's defined in here as 30% of those who voted in the most recent general municipal election to create a petition for an initiative or a referendum. Okay. I don't think that's actually a very small group of people. And there's two caveats in here. One, 30% of those who voted in the most recent general election. That was 752 in the most recent municipal election, I think.
I have 763.
763. I'm sorry, I missed by 11.
Percent of the 4,493 registered voters in Lowell Park vote.
That's not a great percentage either. I agree.
But that 30%, that's one of the options, that you pick the lesser. 30% would be 229 people. The 10% of the registered voters would be 449. So you pick the lesser of the two. So that would be 229 people.
Well, the way this is worded, it is the lesser of 30% of those who voted in the most recent, or 10% of the total number.
Right, so that was
Right.
229. I used the numbers from the May election because I wanted to see in my head what that came out to. So 229 people can start this process, in addition to only 10 people being needed to commence the proceedings.
Well, 10 people are needed to initiate a petition.
Right.
The petition would then need to have over 200 signatures before it could even be taken to the council for review. Okay?
229 out of, and this, you're talking all citizens or just registered voters?
Okay, so how many people in the room have experience in actually getting a petition signed for something that affects city business? Okay. The one I was involved in was in 1996, where the city council raised the tax rate from 12 cents to 36 cents in 1 year. And some of us didn't think that was appropriate, and we wanted a recall election. And I think we needed 300 signatures for that. And it did take a while to get 300 signatures, but we did do it.
And then what happens at that point after you do that?
The council, and they were forced to put it on a ballot for an election, for a rollback.
That's what would happen here with this.
That is potentially what would happen, yes. Now, the thing is, you have to have a reasonable proposition to get people to sign a petition. And then you have to have a really reasonable proposition to get people to come out and vote for it. So I think I talked to the members of the Home Rule Commission about this exact thing, about what is a low enough number so that we don't thrash on subjects and just willy-nilly get petitions thrown at the council, versus what is too high a number so that the citizens don't really have a voice. Okay. And that was a fairly lengthy discussion, and the numbers that the commission came up with are embedded in what we have here. Okay, for a referendum. I thought it was for a referendum and an initiative. It is
And recall, it's a separate paragraph, but it reads the same.
word. Okay. I didn't have a vote on it. I'm the chairman. I don't vote. Okay. So these are, I'm simply defending what the commissioners came up with. Anybody else want to weigh in?
I think you did pretty good.
You characterized it correctly.
Okay. So, the commission, I'm sure would, if somebody has a proposal for a specific change, not just, I don't like that, they might consider that. Okay. But it's a fairly lengthy process. Like we said, you have to have a group of people initiate a petition. And then you have a certain amount of time in which to have that petition filled out and signed by the requisite number of people. So it doesn't just go on and on and on. Let's see. For what else I can say about it, unless you don't want me to read the whole thing. Does anybody want me to read the whole thing?
Is the
Okay.
edition posted somewhere?
Yes. In fact, if you do that QR code, you can get it on your phone.
Ethics committee standards are all, is that also?
Let's go to section 9.
Ask a question or come back to that if you could, answer this question. I just wanted to get clarification about petition sections, just for clarity for myself and the group.
Okay. The Board of Ethics is addressed in 901B. City Council shall by ordinance establish an independent Board of Ethics to administer and enforce the conflict of interest ordinances. All of that. Okay. But the important part of that is the City Council shall by ordinance establish this board. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. Okay.
So home rule is very common with a city of our size, but ethics committees are not common at all.
I think they're newer. They're not common, but they're newer. Okay. I think we found 3 without looking too hard.
Tell them about the names of the cities that we saw that had the good ones. Liberty Hill, Saxe. You're right. The Board of Ethics is not a very well established or long established procedure in home rule cities. But as part of this process, we looked at quite a few home rule charters for various cities around the state of Texas that were similarly sized to Willow Park, maybe a little bit larger. And we found several of them. Liberty Hill was one, Saxe was another, can't think of the third, that had this kind of a provision. And several of the committee members, Jonathan Stickland and Michael, in
Michael
particular,
Chandler.
Michael Chandler, felt very strongly that they felt like that this is something that the city of Willow Park needs, and that it needs to create the city council needs to create a venue for ethics considerations to be managed and discussed. Now, it's not the purview of the commission members to come up with what that structure looks like. That's up to the city council. And the citizens of Willow Park are the ones that need to pay attention to what the city council does and does not do about this and the structure that they create. But in looking at other home rule charters for other cities in Texas that have considered this recently, that have done this, it appears that they've been very successful and that it has given citizens and staff and council members a place to go to have conversations about ethics with commission members who are independent and have some training in dealing with these kinds of questions and that have the power to conduct investigations into serious ethical issues.
I didn't think to apply that it was a good thing. I tried to look it up. There's like, well, non-existent information.
There's two elements in here. One, in a different part, sorry, I don't have the whole thing memorized by chapter and verse, but there is a requirement that the city council shall document by ordinance the ethics policy for the city. And then there is this provision to create a board of ethics to basically be an overseer function on that ethics policy. Now, previously I identified this, or this says establish an independent board of ethics. It is not intended that the members of this board be elected officials. In fact, the general policy is that they are not affiliated with any particular party. For instance, I am a precinct chair for a political party in Parker County. I would not be eligible to be on that board because of that. Okay. Does that help? Okay. And you wanted to go back to section 6.
I have one of those voices, I'm that girl.
Might not hear you online though, is the only thing. Sorry.
My name's Maureen Walsh Bottom. I live on 1106 Woodbridge Court. So I feel like this is all on the right track. When I work, my employer has expectations of performance. So I think expecting people to be clear about what they're supposed to do and when they're on track and when they're off track, I think that's all makes perfectly sense. So I think we're on track. And I think the citizens of the city would expect you to do that, kind of along the lines of you should be able to perform what you're doing, but there has to be guidelines for us to stay in. So with that saying, I think we're on track. My question about it is a little bit because I don't have enough information and that's not my subject matter expertise is about the petition section. So does that mean that I think we're all concerned a little bit about voter apathy and that the numbers might not be great? And if you're working for something, those bad numbers could be bad or good, or the reverse. It depends on how fired up you get your neighbor to sign paperwork. So is that voter number based on which election?
Oh, okay.
Because I just voted and I think there was 10 of us there. It felt like the vote we just had a couple weeks ago wasn't broadcasted, couldn't see it, you didn't know where to go, and then you went and you're like, am I in the right place? So maybe that clarity would help some concerns about what number it is. And it would take a period of time to fire up the city to get the numbers up or down. Do you know what I mean? Because it's
so
cowboy math. It's kind of
the election earlier this month, I think we had 17.1% of eligible voters in Parker County actually vote. In my opinion, that's dismal. Okay. By comparison, well, Carol, do you have the percentage of voters that vote? The 762 is what percentage of the 4,300 we have?
It was almost 17%. In the May 2025, it's almost 17%.
Right.
763 people out of 4,493 registered voters.
When I first learned what the word apathy meant in May of 1992, the first time I ran for council, and it hadn't changed. So kind of what Carol mentioned, a small number of people do run the city, have been running the city for decades.
Smaller group runs it.
I'm sorry?
If you don't vote, even a smaller group runs it. And
Sure.
citizens don't even know what's going on. And that's the way they like it. So we need to vote.
Right. I don't know what we do to actually increase the number of people who will learn what the issues are and go to the polls and do the right thing. I mean, it's a civic duty, actually. That's my description of it.
So right, our military has fought for us to have. You know, it's America. You know, it just stuns me that we so empathetic about the blessings we have.
Right. And I'm an election judge, so November 5th, I was watching people show up at the poll and get to the voting machine and pull up the screen, and they had no idea what they were going to vote on. They did not know what was coming up on the screen because they had not done due diligence before they got out of the house. Okay, we're not going to fix that with the charter. Wish we could.
We did, to Carol, to address the concern that you've raised. The commission spent a lot of time wringing our hands and trying to figure out the happy medium between having a number that's high enough that you're not going to have some small group of people who have a very dedicated purpose, who have the ability to then turn around and drive a change. That's one concern, and a very real one. But the other concern is that if you put the numbers too high, then given the reality of voter apathy, then the citizens don't end up having a real voice. Because the numbers, if you place those percentages too high, then, I mean, I've gone around with a petition trying to get people to sign. And even when it's a very reasonable petition, it's a hard sell. So you're exactly right. I wish more people were involved, but they're not. And in fact, we actually had much better voter turnout in May than we've had in the previous election. So damned if you do and damned if you don't. So what we tried to come up with is a number that was high enough that it wouldn't be four crazy guys around the corner getting mad, and yet a reasonable enough number that if it was enough people in the community cared, they could make something happen. So that's how we arrived at those numbers.
I understand. I'm concerned about the erosion of those rights we've given the city council people. I don't know that this is done in any other level of government where you can do a petition and have Ted Cruz change his vote on some federal law because a whole bunch of people got together and decided they didn't like it. You know, this is the only, I guess local is the only place you can do it, but it's still, you know, we voted for the city council people. They are representing us.
How many did we vote?
How many are?
Yeah, really.
How many are appointed?
We regularly vote for. We
Every one of these.
I'll tell you what,
Everyone is.
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Can we talk about the charter?
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Just trying to.
No, I'm gonna make one comment. We had an election in 2025. The previous time we had an election was 2019. If I say anything else about that, I will probably get angry.
I'm new, so new to Willow Park. What are we trying to what are we trying to fix?
Oh, okay. Again, the basic change that I'm looking for is to give the citizens the right to run the city the way the citizens want to run it. Okay,
Is that what the citizens of Willow Park want?
well, we'll find out in May.
Some of them?
Okay,
I don't know what the mission is or who you are or anybody else up there, just because I'm big.
right.
I'm just trying to figure out what it is we're trying to accomplish, what the goal is. Are there ethics issues that are an elephant in the room that nobody's talking about? Or is there some other problem that we're trying to fix that, again, we're not talking about, and we're dancing around with this?
Okay, let me address that. I think that's a valid issue to resolve. Okay, the last time I was on council was, the end of April 2017. We had gone over 5,000 population in 2016. I was actually on a home rule charter commission that was established in 2009, and there was a draft home rule charter sitting on the shelf, still on the shelf. We didn't even use that to start this process. We pulled charters from, well, we just picked 4 cities out of about 80 that various people had looked at, and then dive down to this. So simply put, we're not trying to solve a particular issue. If I go talk to 10 people around the city, I may find that there's 10 primary issues that they have that they're individual. Adopting the home rule charter is simply a good idea for the citizens. Just about every city in Texas that goes over 5,000 people adopts a home rule charter. It just makes sense. Okay. Now, if somebody has a particular issue with anything that the Willow Park government has done in the last 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that's nice, but the charter isn't necessarily going to fix that. Okay. We still need to elect people and hire people who work together reasonably for the benefit of the citizens of Willow Park. And if we don't have reasonable people involved, it really doesn't matter what we put in the charter or what state law says, there will be problems. Okay? Does that answer your concern?
That helps. And the comment about when the last election was, or, hey, really disturbing.
Well, nobody decided to sign up and do anything. Everybody's fat and happy and watching the world go by.
Necessarily happy.
Good point. But obviously not unhappy enough to go sign up and try and do something about it.
Right.
Okay.
I do want to say, the reason that I signed up to be part of this commission. A general rule city, which is what we currently are, is a very limited form of government. You can only do very specified things that are specifically permitted by the laws of the state of Texas. A home rule charter is only available to larger cities, 5,000 in population and greater, because it's assumed that once you reach that size, you're going to have a little bit more resources, and you're therefore going to be, as a city, more able to make some decisions for yourself as a city about how that city should be run. And I think that's important. I think that Willow Park, whether we like it or not, is almost 9,000 people now, and it's going to get larger. And as we get larger, the home rule framework just doesn't fit a city as it gets larger.
General law.
General law.
I'm sorry, general law city, excuse me. But the other feature of it is that general law cities don't really have mechanisms for citizens when they are displeased with the council, with the mayor, with the staff, whatever. And I think that it's important for us, the amazing thing is how infrequently the recall, the referendum, the initiative, it's how infrequently there really are pushed all the way through. It's very unusual, but it's there, and it does make people sit up and take notice. A city council that's finding itself with 200 people hopping up and down, signing a petition, and they know that there's some teeth behind it, are a whole lot more likely to pay attention than all they see is there's a whole bunch of people grumbling back there, and we don't have an election for 2 years, and they'll forget about it by then. So that's why I got involved.
Thank you.
Gene, can I make a quick correction on your numbers there? So you mentioned most cities in Texas are home rule after they hit 5,000. I just did a quick Google search. It's actually just shy of 10%. There are only 350 cities in the state of Texas that are home rule charter over 5,000. And there's 3,230 is what I'm getting from the Census Bureau right now that are eligible. So it's only 10%. So I want to make sure that that's clear that not every city that's hitting 5,000 people or more are immediately going into home rule or have started the process and everything else. Now, where those cities are in that process, I don't know. But
Okay.
as of now, there's literally 10%. It's not every city. So,
Well, I'm sorry for them.
no, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure we're all good on numbers. I mean, it's just.
Oh, no, that,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'm kind of data driven myself. Yes, ma'am?
My concern, and excuse me, I haven't been to all the meetings. I kind of first started hearing about this during the last election. And all of a sudden, we have this enormous document. And we're trying to push it through before the end of the year. And then what is your plan to communicate this to all the voters? Because if they don't know about this document and don't understand what's in it,
Right.
when it comes up on the ballot, they're gonna hit no immediately. So
Good.
my concern, first concern, and I was in the corporate world for a long time, is when you go to something this important and this huge, how can you get it done in 3 or 4 months and get it out there?
Okay, that's a really great question. Fortunately, we have the Director of Communications with us tonight. Rose, how many times have I talked to you about how do we advertise this effort to the city?
I haven't kept count, Gene, but it's a lot. To address your point, one of the things that we really struggle with as a community is engaging with our residents. It's exactly a lot of the same underlying issues as voter apathy. There are a lot of people who simply just don't care to receive the information until it hits them personally in their backyard, right? That said, we have a lot of, as well developed as they can be for a city our size, we have some very well developed communication channels. As a matter of fact, I heard a gentleman over here say that he was new here. How did you find out about tonight's meeting?
Excellent.
I got a tape letter to my door.
Okay, so basically we have systems that we're continuously improving and putting in place. So we have ways of trying to get this information out to the citizens. Obviously, a staff will be a resource to those folks for helping them get their message out.
Hey, we haven't put anything in the water bill about it yet, right?
We don't have that.
Yeah,
Our
okay.
water bills are run through a third party vendor now. We can't put anything.
Never mind. Never mind.
Now, that said, I did a newsletter about 6 years ago, and I put an Easter egg in the newsletter and said the first person to bring this into City Hall gets a gift card. Crickets. So that's why we stopped doing print newsletters.
That's a great question. One thing is that in order to put this, to have this on the ballot, the requirement is to send a copy of it to every registered voter in the city. So there's an advertising mechanism there. I would like to propose that when we do that, that we announce and have a couple more town hall meetings in the spring so that people can be educated on what this is. And it currently prints neatly on 35 pages. Okay. The first 1, 2, 3 pages are just the table of contents. And then the 4th page is an introduction and preamble and some very high level definition of what the form of government is. But then Article 2 basically tells you what the powers of the city are. It adopts the concepts that are in state law and affirms them so that we don't lose anything. So basically, all the capability that a city has under the general law, state mechanism are adopted into the charter. So that's a large amount of the long document as you described it. Okay. It parrots what the requirements, capabilities, responsibilities of the mayor and the city council are in Article 3. Okay. Long list of things for the mayor powers and duties. Long list for the city council. Well, a more encompassing thing.
I'm sorry, question on the mayor section. I noticed there didn't seem to be any wording specifying the relationship of the mayor and the city manager. It didn't, there was, unless I missed it, I didn't read anything that talked about their relationship in the charter.
Well, I don't think there is a specific thing, or is there something that you
No,
would
I
like
just-
to see?
Well, I just, no, not specifically, not that I can, I'll think about it and write it down, but I just, in glancing through all the duties of the mayor, the council, and the city manager, I saw that there was nothing that said how the mayor and the city manager interact or what, because it said, like, for example, on the mayor powers and duties, it says that she may sign ordinances, resolutions, and contracts. And I thought, wow, contracts, is that not a city manager function? So that kind of made me think about what's the relationship between the mayor and the city manager in terms of legal things like that.
Actually, most contracts are signed by the mayor. Okay. Because it's the highest elected official in the city. Okay. City manager, I guess, can be authorized to sign some things, but typically, most important contracts are signed by the head of the government. Okay.
So does the council vote on all of the contracts?
I think that anything over $50,000 would be required by the approval by the council. Okay. I think that's still correct. Is that correct still?
I just wish it was looking at 100,000, but I don't know if that passed. So,
Yeah.
But it was 50,000, yes.
Yeah, I thought I saw something that might, but I did not see a specific change yet. So, okay.
Typically, if it's substantial, that obviously goes something that the council has to decide on, then the mayor obviously would sign those things. So those are items that the council actually agrees to. So, yeah. So that is the governance of the staff for city council.
Scott?
So can we go back in? I like dive in a little bit more into the ethics committee piece to it, just because I believe there is obviously a need and a purpose for them. You guys looked at Liberty Hill, right? Saxby, and then a third city y'all said that y'all liked their process.
Brady,
What was the process that y'all liked about it? And what, like, ethics violations were there that like piqued your interest to dive in further on choosing an ethics committee? And again, process of that is allowing, it seems a little cumbersome to me though, but allowing the council to create the ordinance and ethics board that is also going to govern our, so that's kind of where I'm stuck on,
seems like circular logic.
a little bit.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wrestled with that a little bit, but something you said, I did not look at any specific actions that the Board of Ethics from like Saxby or Liberty Hill took. I just like, I think the concept. Okay. I have not looked myself at any details of how their implementation has resulted in removing anybody. I don't know whether just the concept of having the defined ethics policy and somebody watching it may tend to prevent people from violating it. So,
I would agree with that. I just, the thought process, right? It's a great process to think about having one. My thought is that I don't want it to be a pipe dream either, right? Like we want to put this in place. However, there needs to be governance behind a code of ethics and behind the board of ethics that is going to drive this force, right? So it's a matter of, again, obviously it's going to be citizens. I would assume it'll have to be citizens. How do we determine what citizen would be on it other than the non-approval process? But then again, have there been ethics violations in the past that I'm not aware of the city that drove this decision to have an ethics board or a thought process behind it? That's why I asked about with like Liberty Hill or whatever the city is, Saxby for sure, that this is the reason why they invoked it. These are the things that happened. Here's the challenges that took place, and here's the actions that happened after the show.
In talking as a group about this, I think what we thought was that, first of all, we have to get this charter approved by the voters. That's number one on the hit parade. Assuming that occurs, then at that point, the ball is in the court of the city council to make that happen. And I assume the city council will do pretty much what they did about the Home Rule Charter Commission.
We had nothing to do with that, by the way. That was the mayor.
I understand, but that there would be a process of appointing people to serve on a committee, that the members of that committee, much like we did, would look at materials from other cities, other ethics boards, talk to the cities and how they've worked, what works and what doesn't. A lot depends on, it was very interesting in looking at various home rule charters. There are some real differences from one city to the next. And I can see where, one community might have really different needs than another one does. So it's really not the purview of the Charter Commission to figure all of that out. That is something that the elected officials of the city need to do, hopefully with a lot of input from interested citizens and kind of, the beauty of plagiarism, going and looking at other communities, what they have, what's worked, what hasn't, and coming up with a code of and there's a lot of materials. There's lots of code of ethics out there, and a commission structure that works. And I imagine, I would imagine we'll probably, assuming we get through all that and we get to that point, I imagine a structure will be created and we will work with it for some period of time, and then we'll come back and make some modifications as, we kind of trial and error, see what works. But the members, especially some members of the commission, felt very strongly that we needed to have a framework in place that made it clear to everybody involved with the city about the expectations of integrity and professionalism and ethics in the way the city works and conducts itself.
I didn't, like I said, I was just asking, I didn't know if it was the Board of Ethics was, the verbiage was added in there because those charters already had that verbiage in there, or if there was an actual discussion board or thought process. So thanks for sharing that. Appreciate you.
And once it's adopted, I look forward to sitting down with you and hashing out details.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tony?
I also ask, following up on Scott's thing, is that the other cities that you looked at, do you know how many actually had violations?
I do not.
Did they, I mean, to look into how effective was this, like,
That would be part of the process of that the council would go through with its whatever committee it established to make it happen.
and then the other question that I had was for the voting to change the charter, once the charter is established, then that is the charter. So we cannot change for 2 years to take back to the voters for change. So the percentage, the 30% that you'd said, what do other cities have?
I think that a charter change requires 40%. And I have to go, well, let's see.
So I'm sorry, you lost me. What was the 30% then?
This for the petitions and.
For the petition, okay, gotcha.
Recall and
So it's
the other
40% for the vote for the 40%. Okay, gotcha.
40% to modify the charter?
I was thinking that that's correct. You remember?
I think that's right.
Like you said,
It'll only be done every 2 years, right?
that I believe is state law.
Yeah.
Right. The charter still is subservient to a lot of things in state law. It doesn't give you the right to just be an island unto ourselves. I mean, it's documented in here that it's still subject to federal and state laws that run everything. So, okay. Let me see if I can find that real quickly.
You might have asked the question on when this charter was first drafted. I'm also new to this process.
Sorry,
When was this first draft complete, or when was the draft of the charter started? When did you guys start writing?
August,
So 2 months ago or 3 months ago?
right?
How many are on the committee?
There are 10 voting members and a chairman. 11. We started with 14, 2 dropped out, and 1 died.
When I looked up the rules of that, just because I was curious, and I might be asking the question, it sounds like I'm not for home rule, I actually am for home rule, but there's pretty solid rules laid out for it. But it's supposed to have like a signed petition from 10% of registered voters and have 15 members on the board and all that stuff. So you just said there's less than 15. Did we do a 10% petition?
So there's, I think, 3 different paths to get to having a home rule charter commission. And I forget the exact reference in state law, what paragraph number is, but I know there's A, B, and C. And this commission was created under subparagraph C, which is the mayor simply creates it. And there's no other, the 15-member thing is if it is appointed by the council through there's a process where you can appoint a home rule charter commission. There is a process where people can be put on a home rule charter commission through an election, which could be a 1.5 year process all by itself. So, yeah, there's The 15 is not a magic thing.
In those rules that I read, there was also like those specific timelines called out to how long you had to make the rules, how long you had to give the rules out so people could digest it before they voted. So we're keeping track of that. So
Well, that's one reason I'm trying to get this to the council in December. So we get through the holidays and then we have time. I think the council, correct me if I'm wrong, mid-February is the date for calling an election in May. I think, but forget the exact date. Okay. So there is time to get some education to the citizens of Wool Park that this is going on. I had kind of hoped that we would have maybe 2, 3, or 4 times the number of people here tonight.
yeah,
but
less numbers, it looks like than last time, but and
It's
then
about the same.
50% plus one of people that vote have to approve it.
That's correct. But, okay. I was looking to see where. I thought that we had a percent. Oh, here it is. 30% of the number who registered to vote. So at this time, that would be 30% of 4,300.
We changed that to 40.
Pardon?
I thought we changed that to 40.
Well, I didn't.
We need to revisit it.
Sure.
So, Rosalie, you might know this, so you just made the joke, sort of, that unless it hits you in your backyard in the face, then you don't really kind of get involved, and that actually happened to me with.
Probably most importantly, pocketbook, but yeah.
So I'm one of those cases where, a situation came up from an ordinance perspective that landed on my back doorstep, right? And the city doesn't have a clear process, it's not specific in the ordinances what it necessarily applies to. It was amended in 2023, and it was just kind of willy-nilly pushed through really aggressively because of another, a blanket statement with the city. So when you brought up the point of, the rushing nature of these contracts, things can take a while to do. Harold brought up a lot of really good points as well. Regarding the reason I asked about when this was first drafted and why we need a charter is in some instances, we might feel like, hey, the city, we want to put the power back into the people to be able to plan our own city. But when you rush things, and it's specifically, some of these ordinances I've seen up here, they're not specific, they are very vague. And when you have vague language in that, and if I'm sitting here questioning, because I'm new or because I don't necessarily get involved and I have issues with the way enforcements are really done, the ways, I've seen timelines of certain things play out, how can I trust that putting a charter in place is actually going to fix those types of problems? Or is it actually just going to exponentially, magnify that, if that makes sense, right? So when we talk about August drafting this first charter and leaving out specificity or leaving out, clear language, right? Understanding what is the mayor's, relationship to the city manager versus the council in terms of what they're allowed to sign and whatnot. I can see this being a little bit of a slippery slope if this is pushed through really quickly. So I'm trying to understand as well, why is this trying to be pushed so quickly versus being more thought out? If we've already eclipsed the 5,000, we're almost near 10,000 in population, like why now versus when this was, 2017 when it was 5,000, right? So specificity, timeliness of this, but also being thorough enough so that we're not dealing with having problems for a weak, poorly written or weak charter, and we can't do anything about a petition for 2 years to get that changed.
Good question.
That's
Like the
a
way you-
loaded question, but
No,
the timeline is really kind
that's
of
good. Okay, so one little detail. I don't think there's a need to have a specific relationship between the mayor and the city manager because the relationship between the council and the city manager is specific. and the mayor is part of the city council. There's not a separate relationship of the mayor and the city manager other than the council and the city manager. Okay, is that specific enough for you? You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Okay. And I've been thinking about this for 10 years, actually since 2009. So I'm not rushed into this. But I understand your point that this looks really fast. I don't think this charter is really hastily put together. What Carol said a little bit ago, we heavily plagiarized from charters that are in place, have been in place, been working, and we are taking the best parts out of things and putting them together as our own Frankenstein, if you will. It's a really well, it's a really pretty Frankenstein. Okay. Again, taking the time to read 35 pages of not necessarily interesting material could be a chore. I understand that. One of the things, okay, so this is replacing Local Government Code, Chapter 220. How many people in the room have read Local Government Code, Chapter 220? Okay.
Not of my own free will.
So this is replacing stuff that nobody really is familiar with anyway. Okay. The ordinances that are posted on the city website, those are not changed. They are subservient to the charter. Okay. That will still require not necessarily an immediate, but over a period of hopefully not more than a couple of years, a review of everything in the, what do we have, 14 chapters in the Code of Ordinances? There's a lot of stuff in there. And we will want to make sure that everything published in our Code of Ordinances is compliant with what we have in the charter. It will be a sanity check. But this doesn't change the rubber meets the road ordinances on how we're supposed to conduct ourselves within the city. Okay. The stuff that Chief Lacey has to enforce. This is a higher level. That makes sense?
Sure.
I think that's important for us to remember is that in putting together a charter, we are not trying to create the nuts and bolts of day-to-day operation of the city, much less management of the city. This is a broad stroke framework, and it's subject to the local municipal law code of the state of Texas, which is thick and detailed and gets changed every 2 years for something. So it's not intended to be the place you go when you have a problem with an ordinance. That's the purview of the city council. That's the purview of the city staff.
But you are setting the standard for local government.
We certainly hope so.
The other thing I was gonna, just a comment to you, this is also just for legal. This is a solid draft built on the board that it will still go under legal review. So I can't speak to what they would speak to, but again, the commonalities.
And that's something that in our meeting, Core Fritz, the attorney that's attended our meetings, I mean, he gets peppered every meeting. Okay, Fritz, is this normal? Is this what other cities are doing? Are we going out on a limb here? Is there a better best practice? You know, poor guy, he probably leaves feeling like he's been concussed every single meeting. But we've been asking those questions to him of, are we out on a limb?
Right, and there are times when I have people or members have wanted to put something in the charter. And we've had a discussion on, is that appropriate at the charter level? Or is that something that needs to stay at the ordinance level? Okay. It's like, what do we want to put? Do we want to put all the stuff that we put in the Texas Constitution in the Texas Constitution? No, let's not go there.
Based on what that gentleman said, and I apologize, I didn't get your name. So if it was 10% of the voters is how it could have been established, then this is about the citizens, that why did the charter decide to be chosen by one elected official as opposed to going out to the 10% of the voters to see if that was something that the citizens wanted?
Because that's just one of 3 legs that are allowed under the state law. I mean, it's, you can do this or this or this. There's not a requirement there.
People need to vote on it before it's adopted.
Correct.
Yeah, he's talking about something different. He's talking about, how did the commission get formed?
I want to say that this was advertised, and to all the citizens of Willow Park, if you're interested in this, to please apply. There were almost 30 people that applied to be on this commission. So it's not, okay, you and you. They really went through all the applicants and found the best diverse group of people to put together. And this will be put on the ballot for you all to vote. So you have the power of saying yes or no. And I strongly feel that it is a good thing. If it wasn't, the city of Weatherford, the city of Willow Park, Aledo would not be home rule, and they are. There are more benefits to being a home rule city than general law.
Sandy, I'm just gonna add to that, just for clarification, there was 30 applications, but y'all were appointed by the mayor.
Correct.
Correct.
But every citizen in Willow Park had the opportunity to apply.
Right,
Yes,
but they were appointed by,
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And it's
just clarification, just.
and it's it's an interesting group. We are very different people. We are a very diverse group.
I'm fairly good at herding cats.
Question.
Was the city council for this?
I have no idea.
We were never asked.
So, and again, I'm asking the question because when I look it up, I just get alarmed when I see something. I think we should be home rule, but I'm a little bit worried that the process wasn't. So what I'm reading is that the rules are set in stone. The state code calls out section 9.002, has to be 15 members. There's 2 ways it can be established, through city council or through voters.
Scroll down to
Not the mayor.
scroll down to subparagraph C.
You've been there.
Did you have a question? It looked like you did.
Just gonna say, I had never heard about the committee until I was at the city council meeting where it was announced that y'all had been appointed.
Hmm.
I never heard about, you can submit your application. I don't know where it was all.
Our director of communication, you posted that prior. Can you speak to that, please?
Well, I will say that the time window for when I was given the notification to post and when the committee was chosen was not a super long window, which may have been part of what contributed to you not seeing it. We did post it on the city website. We did put it on our social media channels. My understanding is that Mayor Palmer also advertised it on her social media channels. Beyond that, I can't speak to the process because I wasn't involved in it.
I have a comment. That website's really hard to maneuver. I'll be in reading on
I
it.
have wonderful news for you. We're rolling a new one out in like 2 weeks.
That's good. I've been reading something and it's like 2 years ago, and I'm thinking, when did this happen?
It is, it is not as user friendly as I would have liked it to have been, and we've gotten some really good feedback from the community on some things that they would like to see improved.
Yeah.
We took a lot of that into consideration with the design. As a matter of fact, we pushed back the rollout a couple of times because this guy can testify. I have been really persnickety about this thing and how I want it. But it's, a lot of it is designed with feedback in mind.
But it's not just the quickness of it, it was that they might not have been able to find it or see it.
It was on the homepage of the website on the front page.
Yeah, it was. And yeah, we got a glimpse at what the new website will look like last Thursday.
Sneak peek and a panic attack.
Yeah. And when did you say we're gonna turn it on again?
I don't yet, actually, Todd and I met today with punch list, so I don't yet have a date, but we're getting pretty close. Monday night at the council meeting, we'll do a presentation on it where we give everybody a look at it, kind of show them how to navigate what's where, and then it'll roll out pretty soon after that.
Sounds good. I'm gonna make a comment about, the timeliness of the Home Rule Commission. Like I said, we were officially over 5,000 in March of 2016. That was by ordinance, or no, I think resolution. In the ensuing 8 years, nobody on the council, nobody in the administration lifted a finger to pursue the home rule charter concept. I was really happy when Mayor Palmer decided that that was something that should occur. That's all I'm gonna say.
Jamie, my last question, and Tandy, you mentioned this, and Carol, y'all mentioned this as well about how y'all have this diverse group, which is absolutely fantastic, because obviously we need different minded folks, not like-minded folks in generating this product. My question is, some of y'all introduced yourselves at the last meeting and kind of told the story of why you were on it, what your process is and everything else. Gene, I know obviously you've been in city civics forever, 40 years. I mean, basically since you've been there. I know you've grown up in it, so you pretty much live it. But for everybody else, the other 11, how many are there now? I'm so sorry, 13?
There's 10 voting members and
Okay.
me.
Does anybody else have any civic due process or have ever been a part of any civic duties of a city, have an understanding of budget, have an understanding of council process and things like that, other than just being, and this is not a negative or open comment by any means, but being appointed by the mayor to do this work and to have an understanding of it. That's where I'm at with this.
I think we have, is Darrell a VP?
I think that's
the
right.
bomber
Yeah, I
plant,
think he is, yeah.
VP in engineering. We had one member who only had 8 years in the Texas legislature.
Right. I know John.
We have another member who was the commissioner for precinct 4 commissioner's right-hand man for about 8 years. So, yeah, there's a considerable amount of experience and, I mean, a breadth of experience, not just depth. So,
The judge.
a judge.
Mhm.
Which is understandable. I'm trying to get a civics background as my question of it, because I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, obviously, in the city government. And the understanding is even more in depth. I mean, I've been around for 10 years in our city civics government itself, and I still feel like I don't know half of it. To be honest with you, I'm still learning every single day. So it's a matter of, I understand we have citizens, which is absolutely fantastic, but their background of how civics works and the government process and everything else, and then we're designing this charter.
Well, again, we're not designing this so much as compiling piece parts from different things that are already, let me rephrase that. We selected a charter structure that we like basically from Liberty Hill. But then we've taken specific content from other charters that did a better job on one aspect or another.
I'm trying not to downplay the massive importance of what this document does.
Oh, no, it is
Massive part of
massively
the
important.
city. Yeah, this is literally what drives the city and its governance. So there's a massive importance behind it. So I just want, like I'm saying, I just want to find out everybody that's behind it, what their background is and process for it. That was the purpose of my question.
Okay, no, that's great.
Scott, you might want to take a look at the questionnaires that everyone filled out. We were asked about our background, what involvement we had with civics and in general or Willow Park in particular. So if you want that information, if you could you can take a look at those questionnaires, and I think that you'll get a pretty good idea of all the background of all the people who are involved.
Okay. So, I started to go through the sections and just do a quick description. And then we got sidetracked and then sidetracked from that. I could go back to that, or anybody have any other specific question that they would like to ask? Or comment? Okay, and I think I did that because, in part, because this is a fairly complicated, device. But Article 3 talks about the city manager, the council, the mayor. And when we started our discussions back in August, my point was what I would like to see is a structure that will enable the mayor, the council, the city manager to work together for the benefit of the citizens. Period. And again, we need reasonable people to sign up to fill those spots for that to work. If we don't have that part, then well, it doesn't matter what we write down. Okay. But this concept in Article 3 is, other than changing the number of council members and changing the length of term of service, not really changing the way things work or are supposed to work currently under the general law concepts in the state. Okay? I mean, we already have most of these kinds of things. When do you have meetings? What is a quorum? What are rules of precedence? How are ordinances formed? Okay. A long thing on emergency ordinances. And I don't think Willow Park has ever had an emergency ordinance. You think there was?
The mayor is the emergency manager from the company, of the city for an emergency. He is the person who was contacted. He has that.
Well, no, the mayor is the emergency. Actually, we can designate a specific emergency management person, but in order to call an emergency, that's the mayor. Okay.
As is now, yep. As is now.
Yes. And that won't change.
Right.
I mean, that's chapter 433, I think. That the head of a government has to request that the governor call an emergency. Is basically how that works. No, fortunately, we have never had to do that. And then Article 4 talks about the administration and personnel, giving the city manager a lot of authority and responsibility. Okay. Designating the city attorney and city secretary as the other officers of the city. These duties of the city secretary are pretty much out of the state code currently. We talked about establishing a municipal court. We don't have a fire department. I've talked to them about, shall we remove this kind of language? But who knows, in the future, we may get a fire department back, so I'm okay either way. Article 5 talks about how do we run elections. Article 6 is on the initiative, referendum, and recall, and I think we discussed that at some length. Article 7 is on finance. We'll get down here.
You perhaps have like a bullet point thing of the compares and contrasts the current form of government control versus what you're trying to establish with this.
No,
We could.
Well, I think there's a document.
pull this, run it through ChatGPT and see what it tells you.
I did with the other version, I haven't with your updated version.
Okay.
Sorry, my last question.
I'm beginning to not believe that.
This is for sure. Tony's gonna fill my mouth shut. What is the thought process behind 6 council members versus 5? Because the only reason why I ask that is because I'm thinking maybe like number of citizens and things like that. Weatherford has a little over 35,000. They have 4 council members and a voting mayor. So I'm trying to figure out the complexity of having 6 councilmen and a voting.
Because we wanted it odd.
Well, no, not a number.
Okay, so the mayor has a vote. Now we need an odd number of people.
When I'm moving forward.
I think I may be having to remember my own thoughts rather than the conversation, but it has to do with having more diversity on the council. Okay, so
I'm just trying to, I didn't know if it was a numerical resident thing or what, so.
No. Voting.
no, again, my concept is, I think, it, to a certain extent, more is better. Okay. Like I said, managing,
Scheduling harder. So I've been on a couple of volunteer boards, and the more members you had, the harder it was to make a meeting, because, if some conflict came up somewhere.
Oh, you're behind you.
well, I believe that.
And with 5 plus a mayor, so.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they distracted me.
I said adding more members makes, they're volunteers, they have jobs and families and life. So getting people together, because you need everybody together to do that city business. So the more you add, the harder it is to get a date that with everybody.
Don't tell Scott this, but they're gonna be paid.
Part of the cost increase. Uh-huh. Thank you.
I think in the charter concept that we came up with in 2009, we said we would pay each council member $25 per meeting.
Get that up.
So that, mentioned that the second time, so was there actual attempt to do home rule previously?
Okay, so, prior mayor
Does that negate?
Marvin Glasgow, he chaired that one. We had, I think, 13 members, something like that. And it was an exercise to come up with a draft anticipating that we would eventually soon reach 5,000. Okay, so it was premature in that we were not legally qualified to actually adopt a charter at that time. So, and then it got shelved.
Yeah, so, he mentioned it being rushed, but to me, I heard it, I'm 2019,
2009.
2009, I mean, yeah, that's a while back, but I think it kind of got on my radar, and it doesn't seem rushed at all. It's been, just been a long time coming.
The council at the time ignored it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been here a long time, and I've tried to follow it and been interested in it, and
I don't know, my opinion, we should have invoked a Home Rule Charter Commission in 2017. When we officially got to that point. Okay. Again, Article 7 talks about finance, mostly about how do you put a budget together, when do you have to do it, and those kind of things. It also talks about a capital improvement plan. I don't think that we have anything in here about a comprehensive plan.
No. That's very much in.
That's something we maybe should consider because fairly important on zoning also. This simply, 713 actually would continue our ability to have a property tax. So if we took that out, then we wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, guess we're not going to do that. Article 8 talks about how do you amend the charter once it's in place. And Article 9 talks about some general provisions about conflict of interest, the board of activities that are prohibited, campaign finances. The charter is currently not explicit on this. There has been discussion. I don't know how many people know this, but as a general law city, it is disallowed when you are on the ballot for a city council place to state what party you're in. It's not allowed. Couple of the members wanted to require that you declare what party you're in. And I think we are at a compromised position of stating that you are allowed to declare what party you're in, but not required. Okay, so it is kind of a change from the general law prohibition to an allowance if you want to. And I think that would go into this campaign finance section. The legal provisions are what? Just
Boilerplate.
regular, yeah, boilerplate. Yeah, that's the right word. Pretty much requirements like you would put in almost any kind of contract. Okay. And then there's Article 10, transitional provisions. So we adopt the charter in May, and we immediately have a vacancy in place 6. So this documents that the council would have to appoint somebody. And then there's a small kabuki dance on who gets the 2-year and who gets the 3-year terms out of that. So I think we will probably have an interesting conversation with the council members about that. But we currently have a transition plan that would provide for a fairly undisturbed transition in the elected officials. Places 1, 2, and the mayor would be up for election in May of 2027 regardless, because they ran on a 2-year term proposition. Okay. Places 3, 4, and 5 are up for election in 2026. So if and here it gets a little catch 22, maybe. I'm not sure what the right. Scott, you're up for election in May. The charter is not in place yet, so you're running for a 2-year term. as well as Nathan and Buddy. But one of you will end up with a 3-year term. And we talked about, well, how should we do that? It doesn't seem necessarily fair if we just do it by the place numbers. So you might have a lottery for you to decide which place are you really in. Anyway, it's just something to think about. Anyway, we have tried to think through how this is going to work to move forward and really adopt into the new process. Okay. And that's in section 10.03, if you want to take a look at that. There is language in here that is left over from the Liberty Hill material, which I don't think will be, I don't think there will be any effect, because we are not talking about redefining the department structure within the city at this time. Okay. So I don't see why there would be a need for training or reassignments. Okay. So, questions? Comments?
This is a November 8th version. When do you anticipate there might be another version, 1.05?
Okay. So, this is incorporating the changes that were discussed at the November 5th meeting. We will have a November 19th meeting. So there may be a November 20th version to incorporate any changes from there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, one thing, our meetings are all open meetings, just like this. If you guys would like to attend any of our meetings, you're more than welcome to come. We meet at the City Hall in the conference room that's kind of off to the right, and you are very welcome to. Our meetings are from 7 to 9 in the evening, and we would love to see you. Public comment. No, we have a public comment, just like at any other normal open meeting where you can, at the beginning of the meeting, make a comment, ask a question, etc.
It's live stream too, right?
Yeah, and it is live stream.
So recordings are also posted to YouTube the day after the meeting. So if you want to go back and watch past meetings, they're available there.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that it is online. And do we have the statistics of how many people have been attending?
As far as viewers go,
Yes.
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head. I will tell you they have dropped dramatically since the beginning of the process. You guys had quite a bit of views at the beginning and it's declined.
Mm-hmm.
But off the top of my head, I can tell you exactly what the
Okay.
I guess we're not as scintillating as we used to be.
No, we're a lot more interesting than before.
I've got.
We were the shiny thing on the hill.
Who analyzes the numbers for such things, once you start getting into the nuts and bolts of these matters, public interest kind of wanes a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say though, and this is streamed live, okay? And if you all show up, it will be very cozy in that conference room.
Mhm.
So, well, I don't have anything more to entertain you with. If I don't think I can get online here. Let's see. Well, hold on. Okay, if you go to the city website and you scroll down here to where it says home rule, that'll take you to a page that lets you find out more information here. It will also give you a place to send an email that would, I think, still currently come to me.
I don't remember if I made that edit yet or not. If I didn't get it checked off my list today, it'll be tomorrow. But we're gonna copy you on anything that comes in.
Okay. So if you wanted to send in a question or a comment that would go to the commission, that link would get you there. And then there's this link, which brings up all the fun information about the council, including the current draft of the home rule charter.
And Gene, if I may interject, tomorrow I will be removing the notice of the town hall from the website since it will have been in the past. So this homepage for home rule will go back to the front page of the website. So it'll go Kingsgate, Royal Water, Crown Road, and then you guys will be right there on the end. So,
Okay.
so y'all, the home rule stuff, the index of home rule will go back to the front page of the website tomorrow.
Okay. Did you say you were going to add us to the boards and commissions page
On the new website, yes.
on the new website whenever it's released sometime next month?
It'll be within the next 2 weeks in the week.
Okay, very good.
Before
We'll have the ask done in the next couple of days. I mean,
Yeah.
and from there, it's just going over fine tooth cone and deciding, hey,
And we've specifically addressed the placement of the home rule committee under boards and agendas on the new site. So,
Okay. Okay, class dismissed.
thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.